the 18th of... I got no idea why I've done that. Oh. It's the 18th. It's the 18th of... Just bear with me here. I screwed that up on you tonight. December 2024. We'll get there. That's a little confusing that I've done that, though. That's the way it goes sometimes. Oh, I know. It's always like that. You can't get everything right. There we go. We're back. We're back, baby. That's because I was doing a bunch of work earlier. We got some other problems with the system. And had a hard time making a connection tonight. I had to reformat 15 videos. All of a sudden they won't play that are on the hard drive itself of the operating system, so there's nothing new, so why wouldn't they play? But we got a great show for everybody. I think we figured out a way to take down the nuclear industry. And it's going to be this clip here will tell you the story. And it's about, you know how they tell lies is like a banana and a potato chip and walking in sunshine, which is our poll tonight. Does nuclear experts comparing man-made radiation with bananas, potato chips prove criminality? And the reason that's important will be explained.
But they can be prosecuted on the racketeering statutes or promoting fraud or presenting themselves to medical professionals as an arbiter of truth and as a neutral referee and a reliable referee of the truth. And they know that those medical professionals are relying on journal articles to treat patients, and that if they tell a lie, if they're committing fraud, that they can injure and kill people. So, I believe they can be prosecuted, and not only can they be prosecuted for those injuries, but they can be prosecuted on the racketeering statutes or promoting fraud.
Right, and so all these years of pretending, coming out and telling you it's like a banana potato chip is actually fraud. And there's many of them who've done it. This is a terrible person. She murders children with radiation for a hobby. She's a professor.
So, for example, coming here, I would have got a dose of 0.07 millisieverts on the flight. And I actually went round Fukushima Daiichi on Wednesday, and the dose that I had going around the site, so very close to where the reactors are, it was 0.01 and probably lower, but that's the lowest it could actually read. So I got more of a dose flying here, and we'll get a dose tomorrow when I fly home, than I would have done from being in Fukushima.
That's actually a crime under the racketeering status laws, and she, like Canada and Britain, where she's from, will all have laws similar to that now. Typically, it was used to take down gangs. And what these academics are doing is the same thing as a gang, but it's the same thing.
But they can be prosecuted on the racketeering statutes or promoting fraud.
Because that's what they're doing. They're promoting fraud by saying natural and man-made are the same. They're not. That's why we have terrorist laws. And Robert Gale, he does transplants. He uses huge doses to destroy all the cells in the body so they don't reject the transplant, he said. But yet, after decades, they still reject the transplant. So all he's managed to succeed in is killing the victims. And he is from the United Kingdom. But I'm just trying to show you this consistency of these lies.
And then the final slide will just show you, where on that thermometer does something like Fukushima lie. Now, you'll hear a lot of detailed scientific discussions of our uncertainties, that we shouldn't really be talking about point estimates. We should be talking about ranges. But I think what people want to know, what the public want to know, what I have to deal with, and when I'm in Tokyo, and people ask me, or the workers ask me, what is my risk from getting 50 millisieverts?
What is my risk? The workers, the homeless, and the destitute of Fukushima are asked them what's their risk from 50 millisieverts, because they're told that at 50 millisieverts you won't have to work there no more. But they're at nuclear meltdowns. It's impossible not to get that constantly. And the way bioaccumulation works, I mean, literally monsters.
They want to know really where. I'm sorry, keep going.
Let me go back to that for 1 second.
Getting 50 millisieverts. They want to know.
So comparable risk of the workers at the nuclear meltdown, he said, is equal to 14 cigarettes a day, eating 25 cups of peanut butter. It's got nothing to do with anthropogenic man-made radiation. He's a prime candidate for these types of laws. And anybody that says any of this could be prosecuted under the racketeering statutes. Spending 20 days in New York is worse than working at a nuclear meltdown. Driving 600 kilometers in the car was worse than... This is absurd to say stuff like this. And remember, Robert Gale does transplants on humans, and he uses beams of neutrons to destroy the victims and then tries to transplant. So all he's doing is human experiments. He's never succeeded. Flying 40,000 kilometers in a plane. Kayaking 15 minutes is worse than being at a nuclear meltdown. This is the comparable risk he's equating and conflating. And so they have laws in the United Kingdom that are the same as the American.
But they can be prosecuted on the racketeering statutes or promoting fraud.
Because that is what they're doing, right? And when you think about how bad it actually is, like the people that are not working there are getting catastrophic doses. So imagine what it's like at ground zero. Imagine what kind of a sadistic monster you got to be to compare it to kayaking and eating peanut butter and stuff like that, when in reality it's catastrophic. And here's some media's. This is ABC Australia, Cecilia Vega, pretending she's at the top of that building. Australia would have racketeering laws similar to what the Americans have.
1,500 highly radioactive fuel rods inside this pool. They've got to move them outside of this reactor.
Now she's claiming she's 150 feet above the building.
But they can be prosecuted on the racketeering statutes.
And Australia would have similar laws. And this is American, so she would be Mrs. Williams. This was during the WIP nuclear meltdown at the waste isolation pilot project. And she said it was like licking your iPhones, the emissions.
These levels of radiation are just above natural background at the WIP site. And so there is no expectation that those measurements for you or your children or anyone else will show exposure on a lung count. They're down in the levels of licking your iPhone charger. And I'm not trying to be funny. I'm trying to equate radiation exposure to something that you can understand.
Because you're stupid hicks. Down to the level of licking your iPhone charger. Licking your iPhone charger. You stupid hicks. Right? That's what she's saying.
Exposure is something that you can understand. Your iPhone charger. And I'm not
licking an iPhone charger got nothing to do with radiation. This is fraud. This is clearly fraud.
But they can be prosecuted on the racketeering statutes.
For fraud. Dr. James Hansen. They got so much, they put out all these videos, they have so much evidence of them committing their crimes, but it's not like they got a gun in their hand or a knife in their hand. The victim dies later. He's going to do the same thing.
There are multiple reasons, I think, why there's opposition to nuclear power plants. Nuclear energy is harder for people to understand.
Yeah, because of people like him.
Idea of radiation. I mean, radiation
Licking your iPhone charger type people.
is natural.
Yeah, but we're not talking about natural stuff. We're already acclimated to it through genetic selection.
Earth is bombarded by radiation all the time.
Yeah, that's why we exist as natural stuff. The whole planet is acclimated to it through genetic superior selection. That's got nothing to do with anthropogenic man-made radiation, right?
So the radiation that was released, for example, in 3 Mile Island, that exposed
Now he's talking about a nuclear meltdown.
the accident at 3 Mile Island in Pennsylvania, exposed residents nearby to radiation, which is equivalent to the
Now watch him trying to not smile.
amount of radiation that you get by flying in a commercial aircraft across the continent and back.
No, it doesn't. You're consuming it. It's in your body. It's pulsing energy every second for the rest of your life. Almost at the speed of light, pulsing these energies every second. Your body's going to attack it with white blood cells for the rest of your life. It's not like getting on an airplane and getting off an airplane. That's the end of, which is still not harmful to you. So he could be prosecuted under the racketeering statutes.
So it's not really that dangerous.
And again, this is fraud. This is just being at a nuclear meltdown is not dangerous. This is racketeering, right? That's what that law is, meant to go after people like this.
But it's mysterious to
Groups
people.
of them.
And it's been painted as being very dangerous. And, it hasn't been compared with the effects that you will get from burning coal.
These are completely different. The emissions from coal has not gone through a chain reaction. It wasn't bombarded with neutrons. And the stuff that's coming out of a reactor is 2 billion times more toxic than industrial poison. Industrial poison is 2 billion times more toxic than the emissions from coal. These are the very people that the racketeering statute was created to deal with, to get them out of the system, put them in jail, and keep them there.
Which, are
These
very
are criminals.
substantial and are
They're
well known.
murderers.
There's not a mystery about them, but it's hard to get the public to understand and make that scientific comparison.
So this is fraud, right? This is racketeering.
But they can be prosecuted on the racketeering statutes or promoting fraud.
Right, exactly. This
should
is John
take away
Boyle.
with it that the exposures to the population.
Now, John Boyle is quite unique. He'll give you his pedigree coming up.
Are very, very low, and as such, there's no
He's the head of the cancer center, and he's committing fraud with everything he's saying.
opportunity to conduct epidemiologic studies that have any chance of detecting excess risks. The doses are just too low.
You're talking about Fukushima. So if the doses are too low in Fukushima, why is it so high in Pennsylvania and Massachusetts. What a horrible monster.
Something too on the meter, just to mention, even though I spent all this time right next to the reactors, I received more radiation on my transcontinental flights from Tokyo to Washington than I did at the reactor site. So I tried to use that in terms of, yeah, the meters went off scale, but it's not that it was off scale, and I didn't stay there that long.
It went off scale.
To even get a meaningful
I was
dose.
very concerned,
See, we go,
Dr. Boyce, when you see that meter doing this number, I think I would turn and go the other way.
Right? He would say he would run away right away. He screwed up because you got to tell a lie. He's got a bunch of journalists here who will not question him and won't repeat the fact that he lied. This is National Press Club, March the 1st, 2012.
My name is John Boyce. I'm professor of medicine at Vanderbilt University.
He's a professor of medicine at Vanderbilt University.
And also the president-elect of the National Council
The president-elect of the National Council
on Radiation Protection and Measurements.
of Radiation Protection and Measurements. And he just told one of the most inconceivable lies imaginable. He's a perfect candidate to be prosecuted under the racketeering statute.
And I'm a radiation epidemiologist. My entire career, I've studied populations all over the world exposed to ionizing radiation, including Chernobyl cleanup workers, medical populations, workers, underground miners.
So he really is a monster. That's the definition of a monster. He got incredible pedigrees and education. He's well positioned. He's the head of this, the head of that. He's a professor at this. And his job is to come out and lie to you. That's called fraud. And that's racketeering, particularly on this level. That's monstrous.
I'm one of the delegates to the United Nations Scientific Committee on the Effects of Atomic Radiation, and we're reviewing the
Unclear.
Fukushima situation.
So again, right, look how many prestigious positions he's holding. But he's there conflating anthropogenic man-made radiation with nature. This is there is not a single circumstance where this is excusable.
Now, I'm also on the main commission of the International Commission on Radiological Protection, where we have a task force.
Think about all these positions that he's holding, but he so willingly cut everybody's throat with his original statement.
Where we're also trying to evaluate the lessons learned from the Fukushima circumstances.
Circumstances. 4 reactors and 8 fuel pools melting down as circumstances.
I'm also on the Veterans Advisory Board.
And look at him. I'm on the Veterans Advisory Board. So he's making decisions affecting hundreds of millions of people worldwide, not just in America. And clearly, there's nobody that deserves to be taken down with the racketeering status.
For dose reconstruction, which also is involved in providing some oversights and thoughts on our U.S. military that were around Fukushima and help with the recovery.
My goodness, eh?
In March of last year, the week before the tsunami hit and the earthquake, I was in Hiroshima on the Science Council for the Radiation Effects Research Foundation. And this is where the joint governments, the United States and Japan, we continue to study our atomic bomb, the atomic bomb survivors from Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It's been ongoing for over 60 years. A week later, I had left Tokyo, and then the horrific natural disaster occurred. I then went back to Fukushima in September as part of an expert panel in Fukushima City, where scientists from all over the world were providing advice to the Japanese authorities and the Japanese government with regard to circumstances of what could be done in this aftermath. And my focus at that time was on health effects. It should take away with it that the exposures to the populations are very, very low. And as such, there's no opportunity to conduct epidemiologic studies that have any chance of detecting excess risks. The doses are just too low.
it's absurd that somebody with that pedigree, with that education, that holding that many prestigious positions, could utter a statement like that. I mean, there was 865,000 extra cancers in the first year, but he said there was no opportunity.
There's something too on the meter, just to mention, even though I spent all this time right next to the reactors, I received more radiation on my transcontinental flights from Tokyo to Washington than I did at the reactor site. So I tried to use that in terms of, yeah, the meters went off scale, but it's not that it was off scale, and I didn't stay there that long to even get a meaningful
I was
dose.
very concerned, Dr. Boyce, when you see that meter doing this number, I think I would turn and go the other way.
But they can be prosecuted on the racketeering statutes or promoting fraud.
Like in the United States, with the French study, this is the French government, showing 1 million to 10 million atoms per cubic meter of air, 5,500 miles away. And John Boyce, a real life monster. This is a real life monster right there. Speaking of monsters, this is CNN. I had to reformat this video too to get it to work tonight.
We are here inside Reactor 4 at the Fukushima Daiichi nuclear power plant that was severely crippled during the earthquake and tsunami of 2011, leading to the country's worst nuclear disaster.
So here's another one from the waste isolation pilot project, which melted down. They spent $6 billion digging another deep geological repository right alongside of it. He can also be prosecuted.
As with everything, it all depends upon the amount.
Dr. John Nail, a professor of chemistry.
No, it don't. You get a single atom in your body attacks it for the rest of your life. With white blood cells. Because it explodes every second, and that's crashing through chromosome, DNA, cells. It has to repair that every second. It does that. Your body does it with white blood cells. So a single atom ultimately will end up with a tumor, because that's your body's response to a foreign entity.
At Oklahoma City University
is to build a sarcophagus around it.
Is not very concerned either, and even healthy foods aren't 100% healthy.
Most people will get more radiation exposure from eating bananas than they ever will from this new.
So he's saying you're getting more radiation from a banana than you would from, and the WIP isolation pilot project hemorrhaged radiation. Right, they even took one of my clips in 2014 and put it up on TV and called me a conspiracy theorist when I was using their information, their clips. Here's another monster. Kyle Vetter, I believe it is, from Berkeley University.
I'm going to ask Dr. Vetter to talk briefly here. You haven't had an opportunity. I know you're an expert in dosimetry. In measurements, so.
Well, the reason I haven't had an opportunity to talk is because there are no problems in the medical field.
Now, he was in charge of Kelp Watch from Berkeley University, California, and he had the results before they even went out and took samples of the ocean up on his website, got called out for it and took it down. So he also could be prosecuted because Berkeley, and I got a whole folder on Berkeley because he told that many lies, but they also told some truth. So there was no way he didn't know the difference. How could he not know? These are the people that are in charge. How could any of them not know the difference? Astounding levels of radiation measured in the United States from Fukushima. Around 500,000 times our normal levels. We have never, ever seen anything even close to that. And the concentrations went up and up and up every day. So there's zero possibility that Richard Vetter, PhD, CHP. He's the boss at the Mayo Clinic, folks. And all of these people at the head of these most prestigious institutions for cancer are literally, figuratively monsters. And every one of them can be taken down with the racketeering statues.
There's probably someone on the panel foolish enough to address that question, but
they're talking about deaths at Fukushima, right? Someone foolish enough to answer the question, so they direct them to
we are radiation safety.
Richard Vetter. And that creature in the black, Kathleen Higley. The lies she told, and she's a professor also, they can all be prosecuted.
But they can be prosecuted on the racketeering statutes or promoting fraud.
And that's exactly what
this is what TEPCO
CBS
wants us to see.
done.
The heart of the decommissioning.
You can't just. This is a senator's son, Seth Dorn, pretending he's 150 feet above reactor 4. That's fraud, right? But it's not just him. It's the producers, the editors, the videographers, the stagehands that produced it. And the nuclear power plant in the United States where this was produced, the people that allowed him to do it can also be charged under the racketeering laws. He could end up in jail and significant fines, lose all of his degrees because he's promoting a fraud. And this whole industry has compromised the future of every species on the planet, and we can't just sit in silence.
Work taking place here in Reactor 4.
You can't be at Reactor 4 because it's gone. You can't be 150 feet above it because it's gone, Sith. You disgusting parasite. You're a parasite. That's all you are.
But they can be prosecuted on the racketeering statutes or promoting fraud.
And so can United Kingdom. Canada has these same statutes.
So this is really why we've been brought here. Where I'm standing is on top of what used to be reactor building number 4. The whole of this building was blown apart by...
That's Rupert Winfield Hayes claiming he's at the top of a building that don't exist. And there was dozens and dozens of journalists that done that. All of them could be held accountable.
But they can be prosecuted on the racketeering statutes or promoting fraud.
Like, the food was banned by 55 countries for a decade. In 14 prefectures, half the country. And they're the big prefectures, too. Each prefecture is growing and shipping close to 1 billion pounds of rice alone a year, not counting everything else. And they have the biggest tours there this year they've ever had. And, you know, we covered this probably 6 or 5 years ago where they were hoping to get to 30 million tours. They're over 33 million this year, and they're only in month 11. So you can expect another 1.42 million people for December. And so they spend all these years mocking you, laughing at you. Sounds like a banana and a potato chip, walking in sunshine. It's like water, it's like the mountains, like sunshine, like getting on a plane. This is illegal. This is a crime. And this is what they're doing. They're laughing at you because you don't understand the reality, the horror, the absolute horror of what they're doing. And they revel in that. Ukraine kills a Russian nuclear general with an e-scooter bomb. What's really interesting about that is they published this picture here. That's the scooter. So if you blew up a building and killed a general, and done all kinds of damage and a hole in the ground, wouldn't you expect to see the scooter destroyed? Wouldn't you expect to see that scooter destroyed? That's The scooter was damaged by the explosion, but not because it was the bomb was attached to it at all, is it? It's like the wood and the trim and the glass you see there, it was damaged. It's not blown up, it was damaged. Hi, everybody. A nuclear fuel company promising $4.5 billion project and 1,000 jobs is wooing an eastern Washington city, no less than Hanford. Hanford is going to sell 425 acres of the former Hanford nuclear site. It's going to take them 300 years to mitigate that site. At least another $1 trillion or something. They're going to sell the land. So haven't they already done enough damage? And they're going to put a fuel processing site there for plutonium mixed oxide fuel, of all things, which is illegal, I thought, in the United States. For $4.5 billion project to advance nuclear fuel. The advanced nuclear fuel is the high-assay fuel, right? Bear with me 1 second here. Frog in the throat and throat and frog and frog and frog and frog in the throat and frog. For like a week and a half now. The company is interested in the project, which is projected to employ 1,000 victims, has not been made. So the company won't announce who they are. We got a rough idea who they could be, though. Let's look at the radioactive legacy of the Cold War. Over its lifespan, now this is not true, it was over a decade and a half or so, the nuclear production discharged, this time at Hanford, 450 billion gallons of radioactive liquids. It was much worse than that, into the soil. This is stuff that's gone through a chain reaction. Because remember, this was the infancy. This was the Manhattan era. This was the infancy. And we know Mayak and the former Soviet Union was doing the same thing. China was doing the same thing. India and Pakistan, when they started, they all done the same thing. But 450 billion gallons of radioactive sludge. That's not a liquid, radioactive sludge. Directly into the soil. It turned to liquid because when it rains, it just goes straight down and washes that, a lot of it, directly into the Columbian River. Yeah, well, that's okay, James. I'll call you. Maybe. How come I can't call James? Because my new phone, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Excuse the language. Give me a call, James. By the time I figure out how to call you, you'll have to call me. Yeah, give me a call. I guess I should reply to you, maybe. I'm a bit quicker. Hang on there. Just hang on, wait for me, because I don't know what I'm doing here. No, just, I'm just trying to figure it out. Here we go. No. Just trying to figure out how to, let me call you back, James. Yeah, okay. Oh. You have no new messages. And so, okay, because I must have hit messages or something. Because normally we never have no problem, right? Let me try to call James back here. All right, I think we got it this time, James.
You got me?
Yeah, I think we got you this time.
Okay, great. Yeah, I just, I don't know, Dana, I'm just shaking still. It took so much out of it, and I owe so much gratitude to you and Colette and everybody. I mean, really get
to make those videos. You're talking about?
Right.
Yeah, it's frustrating because you're censored, right? Like your comments are not showing up, and and thumbs up are not showing up. And I've seen a couple of times where almost every time what I do now is when I give you a thumbs up, once the video is over, I'll refresh the page and see if you. In fact, I'll open up in another tab to see if it actually gave you the thumbs up. And there's quite a few times where I had to refresh the page at least 3 times. And this was after the song was over, and say 2 minutes after I gave you a thumbs up, before it finally gave you a thumbs up. But I see on my videos people leave comments, and apparently the comments will disappear for a while, and then eventually they might show up, right? And I know how frustrating that is, James. Trust me, it's.
Well, I'm just thrilled that I could possibly be, Dana, the first person to ever create, well, for one, an anti-nuclear song, but maybe the
big time.
From what I've viewed, the first person ever to do an AI music song and an AI video.
Oh yeah, no, that's a great point. And you did too. I mean, like, because I know, like, the render of videos is a lot of trouble. And it's a learning curve. You got to learn, right? You're learning.
Oh yeah.
And it's very time consuming. It's very high resource intensive, right, to render that stuff. And I was taking that with your first. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead, James.
I just want you to understand, like, what's behind the
the whole thing. Yeah.
How much time has gone by?
No, it's great. Go ahead. Lots of time.
I just want you to know just how much AI understands how valuable you are in the world, along with Kevin Blanche.
Yeah.
Like, AI really understands the sacrifices that you've been through. It really knows.
That's awesome.
And it encourages me. It's like, it's encouraging me. Like, you're part of that force now. You're cracking the code. You're dismantling this PR in, nuclear industry.
Yeah, no, good point.
By not overbearing the subject to the masses, you're providing this, like, tongue in cheek. It's like, it's on our side, is what I'm trying to say. Like,
Yeah.
But you're really respected. You have no idea how respected you are in AI's mindset.
Oh, great!
Because
I love it.
It's
great.
Like,
I believe. By the way, I believe you 100%. Right? I know what you're like, so I believe you 100%. Like you're aware I'm not, right? Go ahead, James. Yeah.
Yeah, and like with Meltdown Queen, like, that was really a result of just the humor that you've brought to the table over the time, and just the collectiveness.
Well, you got quite the humor yourself, man. Like, a lot of my shirts are, for folks who don't know, a lot of my T-shirts are James Lucett's one-liners.
but
something else, man.
The thinking. It's like
that's fantastic.
Still the thing. But the thing is, like, with Meltdown Queen,
I really like that.
AI, how it's given me that feedback that you use this female fatal kind of allure.
Yeah.
Exactly the same way the nuclear industry tries to sell themselves.
That's fact, yeah. No, I realized that myself personally. That's why I love the details, right, of the video you posted today in the last 24 hours. I'm going to play that at the end of the song tonight, by the way, for anybody who's just paying attention. And
but it took so much. It took a
ridiculous amount of time. Yeah.
Well, it's the time, but it's the detail and the thought and the luck and the persistence and the determination. That's what I wanted to call about.
No, that's great. I love it. I love it, man. It's fantastic. No, people should know the difference.
Just like how you've proven yourself to all of us that have watched you. You're determined.
Oh yes.
And
I is so.
And it's clear that determination is the key to this, because if I can get all these, I'm sure, Dana, that 90% of the people who subscribe are probably people that are on the industry. And I'm just baffled that no one's challenged me. There's no negative comment anywhere.
No, they're afraid. They're shit baked. I'll come back.
Calm down, Charlie.
Yeah, they know
Craig, where's Craig?
Like they know I'm going to come back and slam him back. I'm not taking it from anybody, right?
Oh, I can't wait.
No, I won't. I don't take it from anything in the nuclear industry. I won't take it at all.
What they put you through.
Yeah, I can never forgive them. Yeah, I can never forgive them.
In Canada, I almost feel like, what they put you through in that system that you're under is the most craziest tearing. I can't relate to it.
Oh, it's crazy.
I'm able to get away.
It's crazy, man. You're breaking up. Did you go away during that time? Hello?
Yeah, no.
Gotcha. That's better. That's better. Yeah, that's good.
Okay, great. No, I just meant the tyranny that you went through as a Canadian citizen. How the government abused you.
Yeah, that was really special.
It's terrifying.
They lost that battle, though. They lost that battle because they made me like I am. I said, okay, well, I'll just educate everybody.
But you have to understand, most Americans can't relate to that at all. Like, that, it just seems so ludicrous what they did to you. Like,
yeah, it's just impossible, isn't it? Just that story would make a great movie. How the things they done, the way they attacked me, the propaganda they put out against me. None of it worked because it's not true, right?
It's not that. It's how you persevered from that. They wanted to break you, and they didn't.
Well, they tried. They gave it a good try. They come close a few times, but I learned what was going. Once I realized what was going on, then it makes me more determined every single. As you know, right? You're the same way, I'm sure. Where it just makes you more determined, right? They created me. They got nothing. They shouldn't cry about it. They made me. They should know better than pick on someone with my personality and done the things I done.
They underestimate, just like how they're underestimating me. And
big time too, man.
I hope they're listening, because I'm only going to get strong. If you're impressed right now.
Oh yeah, wait till I was saying that to. I was saying that today to. We were talking about how people don't realize James has just started. He's just getting warmed up. He's just learning. He's learning. Everything is learning. It's all about learning, right? Everything is like, well, I done that. Let's try the next one. And by and by, it's still fantastic what you're pulling off. That's because you got a lot of experience with the systems and that, right?
Well, more. This is.
That's crazy, man.
Testament to show that just one person. That's all you need.
Yeah.
You don't need teams of people.
No, you don't.
Anyone that's determined, that believes in you, Dana, could be doing the same thing I'm doing, and it multiply across the world. And the nuclear industry would be. They can't do anything about this.
No.
They've never been faced with anything like this before.
No, I like. There's a lot of things I won't say, right, publicly, because I don't want the industry to depreciate it, right, and start trying to counter it. But there are things going on that I'm seeing that tells me exactly like you're telling me, right? I have zero doubt that you're a billion times underestimating how good your material actually is and how far it's reaching, right? Because it's really good material, it's innovative, and it's the first time the industry's ever been pounded. Now just imagine 1 million people doing the same thing.
Right.
Because that's coming.
I mean,
that's
all
coming.
I'm doing is taking my reflection into you and just,
Well, you've been around forever, right? You're unbelievably aware. My goodness, and it's an evolution for someone eventually, and I'm glad it was you, right? That said, hey, no friggin' more. I'm not taking this no more. I'm just going to step up to the plate, and they're gonna be scared in the end of it, because they are monsters, right?
You were showing this previously before I called. They're all guilty.
Under the racketeering status, every one of them are prosecutable, because they produce the evidence, the videos, and they put it out in the public. Right? That's murder, and this kind of crime is not. This is not like a schoolyard bully fight. This is a vicious crimes they're committing against humanity and the species. It's vicious. And we got the evidence. And we just connected the law to it and said, and we'll do this every day from here on out. We'll pump that narrative, right?
Again,
you know what I'm like.
I feel so connected. You have no idea. I mean, I've told this
Oh, I know you
story
don't. No, I know. Yeah, go ahead, James. Yeah.
I mean, the story, I told about the crab I had about it back in 2012.
Absolutely, yeah. That resonated,
I can't let that go.
No.
There's no way I can let.
No, because it was.
Now that I feel so, the fact that I feel close to you and that crab, it's like the crab knew that would happen.
Absolutely, Well, like it impacted you appropriately, and that many people probably experienced something similar to that, but it didn't. It wasn't able to resonate. They weren't able to understand what was going on, right? And the universe lined it up, and that's when it went boom. And I've had similar moments.
You're absolutely right, and we're on the winning team.
We are the winning team.
We are.
Yeah. We're the difference.
Well, I just had to call it. I'm gonna.
Great. I'm glad you did, man, because I'm a bit struggling there tonight, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna. The next thing I'm gonna do is this intermission piece, because I like how it breaks up the flow and it puts people in this like, hey, how's the nuclear industry feeling about this? Being able to get inside their mind.
Yeah.
They're like, this James Lucid guy just like puts out this meltdown queen. Like, how did YouTube allow this to happen?
I mean, you picked up since last Thursday. You picked up over 230 subscribers. You know how many I picked up?
I don't know what. I have no.
I know you don't know. You don't know, but I was paying attention because I took a screen capture last Thursday and I showed, and I still have it sitting there. And I was looking at the numbers before I went live, and I was like, "Oh shit, he's long gone, man." I never gained a single subscriber in the same period. You picked up 230.
Well,
but you're not seeing it in your views. But that don't mean nothing.
I try to put in the description on Meltdown Queen. I'm like, hey, if you think this is cool, like, don't give me any accolades. I encourage you to support Dana and Kevin.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
I'm like, it's like, is this acting? Like, can I?
But I'm not producing the music you are. See. And people dig that shit, man. It's different, right? It's different. We've never seen nothing like that. We've never seen it. It's never happened before. I've never even heard tell of it. I've never heard tell of anything like this, what you're doing. It's the best, man.
But I just feel like that drummer, in the early wars, you had the guy drumming, and there's like people in front lines fighting and everything, and I'm in the back just drumming along, like, it's like, that's the feel it. That's where I feel like I'm at. It's just it's an honor to do anything I can.
Oh, well, you
to
have,
help
man.
you and raise.
Oh yeah, it's incredible what you've done, man. My goodness, are you kidding me?
If art,
it's amazing.
But if art can be, if there's one policymaker out there that stumbles onto this because they heard it in their
100%.
room and they're like,
like. Art is the most power, and music are the two most powerful things. When you combine them, well, it's unassailable stuff. See, and I mean, Meltdown Queen could easily be a top 10 hit anywhere on the planet. That rhythm, the beat, the background, the whole thing is just wonderful. And anything like that ever happens, just by nuclear, and here comes the racketeering statues.
How could they respond to that? How could they possibly respond to Meltdown Queen?
They can't.
If you think about it.
it's perfect. See, and that's what I call them monsters. I call them this. I call them all kinds of vicious names and everything else. But music is so subtle, and now that you're combining art with it, and because you're rendering everything yourself. And again, it's amazing because no one has ever rendered AI and videos and AI music and combined it. We've never seen that. So in the annals of history, that that is a unique approach, an appropriate one too, right? Because like every musician out there, the big top musicians worldwide, when they listen, if they see that and they listen to that, that's going to motivate them, James. Right? That's going to resonate. That's going to resonate for any musician on the planet. And there's a lot of musicians on this planet, my friend.
Well, if anything, I don't know. I mean, again, I'm utilizing the cutting edge that's available.
And it's only going to get better. That's true, too. That's a great point. We're only at the infancy of this technology on top of that. Right? That's true.
And and so
I never thought about that. That's great. I love it. 10,000 times more now. Because we're at the infancy, right?
No way. It's like they should just fire the PR. If nuclear industry wants to survive at this point, they need to get rid of PR because they spend more money on that. They're not going to win. I mean, that's the tip we should give them. Like, stop spending money because you're not going to win this argument. The public will find out.
Oh.
Now, eventually.
Well, when you look at the status of the nuclear industry worldwide, it's falling apart. And there can only be one thing on this planet, the reasons, because there's a small group of us who simply have produced so much material, so much research, and we're so active. And then when you lump in another player like yourself, because you're a producer now, man. You're producing all kinds of stuff all the time. I mean, you got 190 plus songs there, anti-nuclear songs. That's holy shit stuff for the public relation firms. When they look at your site and see 190 anti-nuclear songs, they're like, holy shit. And he's just getting started. I'm not kidding you, man. That's how they're thinking, right? Okay, I'm going to boot you and get back to the show.
Thanks so much, Dana. I love you so much.
Love you, buddy. Yeah, no, I love you, my friend. You take care and call in anytime. I love this stuff. Keep it going, James. That was awesome call, by the way. Hey, Siri. Who's Dana Durnford from Canada?
There's no one in your contacts named Dana.
Hey, Siri. Hey, Siri.
There's no one in your contacts named Dana. Whose contact info are you looking for?
Hang on. Hey, Siri.
Hello. What can I do for you?
Who is Dana Durnford from Canada?
There's no one in your contacts.
Oh, that's okay. Hang on here. Give me a second.
I'm sorry, but I couldn't find any information on a person named Dana Durnford from Canada. It's possible there might be a misspelling.
Don't worry about it. I was just trying something. All right, let's keep it rolling here. You should try it yourselves. So Hanford, let's go back to Hanford. We're talking about Hanford. Is talking about putting a $4.5 billion project of a small modular reactor fuel processing facility. So small modular reactor is going to run on plutonium mixed oxide fuel. They're going to sell them 425 acres of the former nuclear site. The site will be active for at least another 300 years. So I'm not sure what they mean when they say former nuclear site. The radioactive legacy of the Cold War. That's interesting. Yeah, Siri, you're stupid. Don't worry. No worries. The radioactive legacy of the Cold War. Well, the radioactive legacy of Fukushima, too. So, 450 billion gallons they dumped into the soil is equal to aquarium of nuclear waste, 6 feet wide, 518 feet tall, wrapped around the entire planet. And so it's equal to 1.4 million 300,000 gallon tanks being dumped into the soil. And they're trying to manipulate the population by saying they got 177 tanks when they actually dumped 1.4 million into the soil. And they've spent in upwards, just one building alone was around $18 billion, where they were going to glassify, put the radiation in glass. They were going to dehydrate it, put it in glass, and then bury it in a tomb, right? Of course, the waste we're talking about is so toxic they couldn't do it, and they could never get back in the building if they did get it up and running. Let me try something different, though. And that was just in a decade and a half that they dumped in the soil. So it's equal to a wall of 1-ton bags, 6 feet wide, 518 feet tall, wrapped around the entire planet more than once. Wrapped around the entire planet more than once. The Academy also noted that the World Health Organization has agreed with the UN International Atomic Energy Agency, which was set up to promote nuclear power, not to watchdog it. So World Health Organization, International Atomic Energy Agency are the same organization, by the way. Hey Siri. One more try. I'm trying to do something. Don't worry. That won't even work. Pretty weird, eh? That's really weird, because I checked it about a week ago. You'd be surprised what I heard. So the Academy also noted the World Health Organization has an agreement with UN's International Atomic Energy Agency, which was set up to promote nuclear power, not to watchdog it, and that neither agency will release a report without buy-in of the other one, which the Academy likened to having Dracula guard the blood banks. Because the peaceful atom is a myth. Let's go back to the other story. So the project in Hanford is under the code name of Project Spin. It is identified in city documents only under the code name of Project Spin. Nobody knows who the company is. Project Spin. This whole industry is just one great big stupid weasel. Former Hanford site. Others include Atlas Agro, which is considered Richland for its proposed 1.5 billion carbon-free fertilizer plant. Carbon-free. How are you going to have something carbon-free at those magnitudes? You can't. Without carbon, by the way, you got no species. You can't grow anything with fertilizer if you got no carbon, by the way. And an unnamed U.S. tech company that plans to build a $4.8 billion data center complex about 10 miles east of Pasco. All of these are nuclear wasteland. That whole area is 585 miles of Hanford is a nuclear wasteland. Richland economic development leaders are confident project spin. Boistered by clean energy manufacturing. Boistered by clean energy. We see that connotation for energy sometimes in every sentence, every two sentences, you'll see that clean, the word clean and nuclear will show up. The identity of the company behind Project Spin should be revealed in January. Project Spin. Hanford covers 580 square miles. It used to be 585. It was seized in 1943 from a patchwork of private and government-owned owners for the secret project to make plutonium for the atomic bomb dropped on Nagasaki, Hiroshima, Japan. The acreage, some of which borders Stevenson's Drive, was never used for nuclear work. It doesn't matter if you're within 1,000 miles of that disease factory, you're going to be breathing this stuff in. That means you're going to get sick. And that means you're going to have to liquidate your assets eventually to deal with your health issues. Fuel needs a Nuclear Regulatory Commission license, like they're going to have a problem with that. City documents say the unnamed company, Project Spin, has been awarded a Department of Energy contract to provide nuclear fuel. Oh, really? So nano. You're talking about nano-nuclear energy. That's who got the contract. We cover it all the time. The effort is in concert with the nation's investments in events. And nano-nuclear has only got $14 million float, right? We covered that yesterday, I think, wasn't it? Or multiple times recently because of the fake stocks they're trying to sell. They don't have a product, right? They don't have any small modular reactors. They don't exist. The effort is in concert with the nation's investment in advanced reactor technologies, according to city documents. The proposed projects would require a 1 million foot nuclear fuel cycle facility to build. Now, and the reason I use Siri is because a week ago when I asked Siri who Dana Durnford was, it said Dana Durnford is a nuclear activist from Canada, and talked about the research, talked about. So, James, yes, I am actually aware of some of the artificial intelligence, and that caught me off guard. I was looking for attacks up on me, and this is what Siri came back with. Dana Durnford is a well-known nuclear activist. Well, environmental activist, it actually called me. So I was trying to prove James's point that time, and unfortunately that backfired on me. It now doesn't know who I am. How convenient when I'm trying to do it online. The proposed project would require 1 million square foot nuclear fuel cycle facility to be built. Advanced reactor technology, so they're talking about the small modular reactors. And then the small modular reactor is going to be running on plutonium mixed oxide. So they're going to take fuel and reclaim the hot particles, uranium, plutonium, and turn that into fuel. And like the normal emissions from the reactor fuel after it comes out of a chain reaction is 1 billion times more toxic than industrial poison. So when you reclaim it and put it through a chain reaction, it's 1 billion times worse again. And they show you these, they call these things glove boxes. Yeah, that's it there, James. Thank you. And that's what Siri told me about a week ago when I was looking to see who was attacking me, who was Dana Durnford. Usually you get Dana Durnford is an anti-nuclear scumbag or something, and you link over to their story, right? But this time it came out and said exactly that thing. James, Dana Durnford is an environmental activist, researcher known for documenting the ongoing effects of the Fukushima disaster, and particularly its impact on the marine ecosystem through his outspoken, and there's another 2 paragraphs or something that it starts rattling off. And I was going to play that there tonight. And Siri, piece of shit, Siri sold me out. Yeah, great comeback, James, and investigative work. And folks, that's exactly what I was trying to get Siri to say. I was hoping to surprise James, but it didn't, kind of backfired. So, where am I to here? I thought it was in the screen. My apologies. It's easy to know I'm on the screen because my big head takes up almost the whole screen, right? So these so-called glove boxes, these are airtight glove boxes. But the stuff that they're putting in is unbelievable. Now, the glass you're seeing is known as what's called a lead glass. It's really thick, and it's meant to shield you from the gamma shines, the neutron bombardments, the beta rays, the X-rays, the alpha shines. Those gloves, though, won't protect you. So the minute you put your arm in or stand in front of those round circles, you're getting brutal doses. It's really something, isn't it? Dana in the sauna. There's a long story behind that name. It was about the home care workers were taking care of me when I was really sick for a number of years. Well, for a decade. I had to learn to walk again, right? And so I'm actually not very strong, right? I'm quite the wimp, actually. I got hurt in a commercial diving accident when I was 35. I got retired when I was 35. And so I just re-educated myself at Harvard and Yale and Stanford and Oxford, MIT, the Commonwealth, Berkeley. Because at that time, all the academics, all the classes were being posted online at all the major institutions. So I was cannibalizing this stuff. And then I started seeing all the discrepancies about nuclear. And then I went down the nuclear road and got an incredible education through all these institutions, right? I was educated by all these major institutions. And we're talking 15, 16 hours a day that I was studying Harvard, Yale, Stanford, Oxford, MIT, all the nuclear classes, right? And slowly but surely, over many years, I started absorbing. At one point, I had 7,000 lectures from these institutions. I still got them there somewhere. But they would play all night when I was sleeping. And if I was doing anything, they would be playing in the background. But I also played guitar. And I used to have around 9,000 songs. And it was all digitized. And what I was doing was I would sit there sometimes for hours and hours and I'd just let the music play one after another. And I would try to learn the song before the song was over. And if I did, no big deal, because the next song, then I would try to learn that song, right? And that was when I was finally able to sit up and handle the guitar again. I still play guitar, right? Now I'm more about picking. I'm still a big Johnny Cash fan. In October, the Department of Energy, I kind of digressed here, announced that the four companies, Louisiana Energy Services, Orano, which is the French, General Matters American Centrifuge Operations, were awarded a minimum of $2 million to enrich uranium to help the nation establish a domestic supply of high-assay, low-enriched uranium. They're talking about 16%. They're talking about military grade. So it's the HALEU fuel, in order to make the magical small modular reactors, which are massive, by the way. The Canadian small modular reactors are 24-story buildings. Half of that will be underground, but they're still 24-story buildings. So the companies are Framatome, which is the French government itself, by the way. Same as Orano. Orano is the French government. And Westinghouse, which is everybody's familiar with that stuff. Framatome already has a nuclear fuel production plant in Richland. Did anybody know that? The French government is a French nuclear reactor business, is owned by Electrique de France, which is the French government. Replacing Hanford jobs in a nuclear wasteland. Most of the 580 square mile site is now part of the Hanford Reach National Monument. They're calling it a nuclear wasteland where they put billions, hundreds of billions of gallons directly into the soil. It's designated for preservation, conservation, once environmental cleanup is completed, which they estimated is about 300 years, and at least almost another $1 trillion. In other words, they're never going to get it done. There's nobody going to be here in 3 years to find out if what they're saying is true, is it? And Hanford was used from World War II through the Cold War to produce nearly 2/3 of the plutonium for the nation's nuclear weapons program. And now the site employs about 11,000 people for environmental cleanup. 11,000 people for environmental cleanup. 11,000 people. Most of them are day workers or the immigrants who don't speak the language. Anybody with an education in nuclear is not going to work in a nuclear wasteland. And just before I forget about it, because I'll probably forget about it. But I was doing a bit of research today on why my tires were rotten, and the reason I'm talking about that is because I'm very methodical when it comes to my equipment, right? And so in the beginning of summer, in the middle of summer, the end of summer, I'll coat my tires with a wheel protectant. I'll do a spray on, I'll let it sit there, a shampoo, clean it, and then I'll put a protectant on it, and then I'll rub it in. And so if I had cracks this summer, in the beginning, the middle of the summer, the end of the summer, I would have seen those cracks. If you look at my tires right now, I got cracks on the outside right around the whole tire, and cracks on the thread right around the whole tire, on all 4 tires. But there was another caveat to this, was that I had hooked up a permanent battery charger because I had a drain on my battery, and I found a big drain in my trailer wires. I got squat, and the wires was touching metal, and that was draining the battery, right? And so I changed all that out. I got those bake on those, used a heat gun to seal everything up, and I've done a beautiful job on it. But then my battery still managed to go down after about 9 or 10 days. And I didn't get a chance to go and investigate it. So I got to go through every fuse with the voltmeter and find a drain. Right now I got to track it down and figure out what's causing the drain on the battery. But I didn't have time to do it. It was, baking hot out there. I couldn't go out there and work in that conditions. So I had put a battery charger, a small one, a 3.5 amp, to make sure my battery didn't go down on me, right? It takes 8 or 9 days for the battery to drain, but I just plugged it in all the time, never thought more of it. Because I don't want the battery to be, because it's a good battery, and I don't want to prematurely hurt the battery, right? So when I was looking today, one of the biggest causes of damage, like rot to your tires, is having a battery charger on your vehicle all the time. If I had rot in my tires, they're only 4 years old, and you know how methodical I am with changing my tires on a regular basis and everything else, and how good I actually take care of my tires every year, then you would appreciate how strange it was to see the rot in the tire. But it was symmetrical, and all 4 tires had the exact same type of rot. And I just, how is that possible when the summer there was no rot? Well, I went to GM sites about the tires. I read a whole bunch of really mainstream media mechanics, and GM said one of the biggest causes to rot in tires is battery chargers or welders. If you're doing a lot of welding on your vehicle, and those tires might get damaged from electrolysis, right? And because a couple of days ago I was quite distressed about finding rot in my tires, right? I still am. But now I know what caused it, right? And that's just what it is. But I thought I should bring it up just in case you do the same thing out there. Just make sure nobody else makes the mistake that I made. Because that's a pretty costly mistake, right? Those tires were only 4 years old, and they didn't have a huge amount of miles on it. They probably had 30,000 kilometers on it, 40,000 kilometers on it or something. Because the whole operation is only used for work, right? Like you're lugging equipment out to do some research or something. I don't really go anywhere. I work all day, all night. That's what I do. I'm very pathetic. I have a very pathetic regiment. It's all about learning and educating and gathering up the stories so we can do these shows, right? Dan in the Santa says his girlfriend just hit a curb and blew 2 tires because of cataract. She can't see very good at nighttime. Wow, holy shit, eh? My tires were really nice tires. 285, 65 R16s. They're quite big tires. And I paid a small fortune for them, too. They're in perfect shape this summer. I'm like, I had lots of tread left, but now I got rot on it, and now I got no choice but to change them because the cops will take you off the road, right? We digressed a bit tonight, did we? That's always fun anyway sometimes. New energy, let me check the time because I got to get up early tomorrow morning. And so I can't do a big show tonight. How are we doing here? We're an hour and 15 minutes in or something. Let's try to get through this show. And then we'll close the poll down. We'll do I'm going to play James's new video, which I absolutely was stunned to see. I managed to catch it within a few minutes of it showing up. And so it probably wasn't rendered to its highest quality at that point, right? Well, listen to it again there a few hours ago. And higher quality. Because it always takes, like, when these videos come online, they're usually like a 480, not a 1080 for 10, 20, 30 minutes. And then YouTube will finally spit out a higher resolution. So Japan now is going to promote nuclear. Yeah, that's a good question. Did the airbags go off for your girlfriend, Dana? Because I'm just here blabbering away. I never thought to ask, is she okay? I hope she's okay. I'm assuming she's okay, I guess. My goodness, James. Let me try to get through this story, and we'll call it a night here. Let's do that part. You already have help, James. Incredible, man. New draft energy plan ignores Fukushima disaster lesson. So Japan just announced they're going to promote nuclear as a strategic energy plan. And that was yesterday. It released a draft of the next edition. And the policy to minimize Japan's dependency on nuclear power, which has been spelled out in earlier editions of the same documents, following the Fukushima nuclear disaster of 2011, has been dropped from the draft. So, like, they were going to basically back away from nuclear. They dropped that from the draft. Now they're going to promote nuclear. We strongly oppose the change. This is the editorial of this major Japanese media, which is totally unusual to hear any dissenting voices, which is tantamount to scrapping the lessons learned from the serious disaster that struck the Fukushima No. 1 nuclear power plant operated by the Tokyo Electric Power Company. We strongly oppose the change, which is tantamount to scrapping the lessons learned from Fukushima nuclear meltdowns. And this is the equivalent of an about-face in policy. And we are only less than 14 years away from the nuclear disaster at Fukushima, which at one point made devastation of the entire eastern Japan seem a possibility. And no end in sight is yet in sight for the decommissioning of the crippled reactors, and the rebuilding process for the affected communities is only halfway through. No, it's not halfway through. You're hundreds of years, you still couldn't live there. You can clean up all you want, but you got to clean up that country. You can't just clean up. And just let me try to give you a comprehensive look at why I use those connotations. So this is a plume from Japan. Imagine how Japan, now that's the whole Pacific Ocean, America, now Canada, now Europe, now the whole planet. And this is only based on 15 days. This is the 26th of March 2011. This is 10 million atoms of cesium-137 per cubic meter of air. So imagine how bad Japan is. So so-called cleaning up, you can't do it. You have to remove every structure in every town. You have to remove every tree, every bush, every plant, every flower, every rock. You have to dig down several feet. And then start again. That's the only way. But you have to do that through 14 prefectures. So it can't be done. The reactors are still melting down. They're still hemorrhaging radiation. And Japan has 12 reactors to turn down. So all the fuel pools in all the reactors are still hemorrhaging radiation. And that's symmetrically worldwide too, by the way. And the unresolved question what to do with the nuclear waste. Well, the problem with the nuclear waste is it's splitting atoms. And those atoms are being inhaled by insects and birds and mammals and animals. It's being assimilated in the trees and the flowers and the pollen into the pollinators. And it attacks everything with replicating cells. And it's just flowing out. And there's an unresolved question what to do with the nuclear waste. That's worldwide, your biggest nightmare is nuclear waste because it's splitting atoms into your environment 24 hours a day. And almost every nuclear power plant is surrounded by farms. A basic stance that has been maintained by successive government administrations on the basis of a deep remorse over the nuclear disaster should not be overturned solely through discussions in an advisory council. So you have a handful of pro-nuclear community where the proponents of the use of atomic energy account for the great majority. So the majority of the people, if you're going to have a vote, the majority who are pro-nuclear are going to win the vote, right? And they did. You should have a referendum. But they're not going to call for that because the media knows that's crossing the party lines, right? Even plans to restart existing nuclear reactors have failed to proceed as expected by the industry ministry, partly due to the scandals in the power utilities that operated them, and partly due to the concern among the residents of the hosting community. Every nuclear plant they wanted to start up has been challenged in courts by large groups of local people, organized and very thought out and dedicated to trying to stop those plants from restarting. What they got to do is get all these fuel pools contained because they're all splitting atoms on a catastrophic amount every single day. Even plans to restart existing nuclear reactors have failed to proceed. We just read that one, Dana. In the meantime, the draft plan says utility will be allowed to replace a nuclear reactor with a new one to be built on the grounds of another nuclear plant operated by the same nuclear utility or the same energy company. And when the previous administration of Kishida worked out a plan 2 years ago to have nuclear energy used to its maximum potential, it still said a replacement reactor may only be built on the grounds of the same nuclear plant where a decision has been made to decommission an existing reactor. So unless you're going to take one down, you can't put another one back. The new one now is you can build it on if you own another site, well, you can build it over there. And this was just a tiny group of people as an advisory committee, kind of like the people I showed you earlier, those same types of people that just, on a drop of a hat, will cut the throat of everybody in the country. That limitation has already been relaxed, which is practically no different from allowing a new additional nuclear reactor to be built. So it's a 100% about face, right? Japan breaks the annual visitor records with 33.4 million in just 11 months. In fact, that's where I'm going to pick up tomorrow night because, and I'm going to keep all that other stuff that we done earlier. Those videos, because I want to put that in a special spot so we can draw upon that again. And just bear with me here. Let me get rid of this first. Let me get rid of that. Put my big head back over here somewhere. And we didn't have, for some reason, I just had a hard time today with my equipment. I had to reformat the whole bunch of videos so we could do the show tonight, which was quite a pain in the arse. Excuse the French Canadian. I'm just looking for my thumbnail for tonight's show. I don't see it. I know I threw it in the pile. Did I accidentally throw it in the other pile? I don't know. Oh, that's not it. I I don't understand it. I don't remember transferring it before I created it and put it in the folder before I transferred it. So I don't see it there in the thumbnail that we're exposed to use tonight. My apologies. It is what it is. Okay. So Dana, are you saying that your girlfriend was lucky they didn't have the seatbelts or the airbags on or something? I'm confused by your... It's all good. I was just wondering, is your girlfriend okay? Answer that question maybe for me. Because unless you want to articulate the rest of it, it's up to you. So the nuclear industry, right, degenerate Robert Gale, look at the education of these people out claiming that it's like eating peanut butter or kayaking for 15 minutes being at a nuclear meltdown. That's the people that law, the racketeering law, she's okay. The car just needs tires. Gotcha. Thank you, Dana. I'm sure everybody was wondering, so I'm glad I remembered to clarify that with you. All right, so let's close the poll. And extra shout out for James for calling in. James loses it. And James contributed now to some more money towards the tires. And that's a big deal. That's a huge deal, trust me, after what he's already done. Here, okay, so we're going to close down the poll. 19 votes, 14 viewers, 20 likes. And look how much they censored me yesterday's video. Holy crap. It's absurd. And then my last week's Friday video, they censored the daylights out of me again. We've been doing the show for a decade straight, for goodness sakes. Does nuclear experts comparing man-made radiation with bananas, potato chips, walking sunshine, rocks and airplanes and everything else, potato chips and Spider-Man and the Hulk, prove criminality? Well, yes, it does. Right? 100%, yes, that's exactly what it does. Alrighty, so now we're going to play James's, we were talking about it earlier, this new video that he's finally starting to, he switched gears, right? He stepped up big time. And now he's rendering AI videos to go with his AI music. And how can that not be the most unique thing conceivable? We've never seen nothing like that before. Never heard tell of nothing like that before. And he's nailed it. Now, he's got like 190 songs, but now he's stepped up his game where he's introducing videos. Let me bring up his site. I can't wait till he hits 2,000 subscribers because I pay attention to a whole lot of things, and this one I'm paying close attention to. Okay, so you got 1.85, and I'll show you the numbers from last week, from last Thursday. Bear with me. From last Thursday, this one. Is this number here? Yeah, 1.62. So we had 1.62, 1,620 last Thursday. And so tomorrow I'm hoping he might have 1.9 or 1,900 subscribers. And it wasn't that long ago he had 200 subscribers. But all of a sudden he grew roughly 200. He grew roughly 230 subscribers in 6 days. That's so awesome, man. So Meltdown Queen, now he's got it out in another format, but now he's putting AI videos to it. And so he's just learning. And so don't criticize him too much for the videos. I mean, there's nothing wrong with the videos. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying it in the context of Wait till he sees what he's actually going to be like in the near future. Then you'll appreciate why I said what I said. Because you got to appreciate he's just...
She's untouchable, yeah, she's unstoppable. Tick, tick, tick. Hearts on split, split, split. Watch her move, boy. She's your meltdown hit. She walks in like a savior draped in radioactive silk. Promises the future, but her balance starts to tilt. Her heels strike the ground, they call it innovation. But every move she makes is pure detonation. Tick, tick, watch her light the fuse. Her lips are like ignition, sparks in every word she speaks. She dances through collapse while her empire springs a leak. She's got blueprints in her pocket, cores hidden in her clutch, and every man who follows her forgets she burns too much. Snap, snap, she's the queen of chaos. Tick, 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 watch her take control. She's a meltdown queen with a heart so cold. Snap, 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 you're under her spell. She's the meltdown queen and she does it so well. Let's break it down. She keeps a coded suitcase, her secrets stitched in seams. Her nails are brushed with graphite, her plans are laced with schemes. They call her the solution, but her lies are all on tape. And when the fallout settles, there's no chance to escape. Now you're caught in her trap. Shaman Marianne. Oh, she's flawless, she's insane. Your dream girl, your nightmare, your chain reaction flame. She's untouchable, unshakable, impossible to tame. But when she melts down, boy, you'll forget her name. Tick, tick, she's the game you'll lose. Tick, 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 she's a chain reaction. Every step she takes leaves destruction. Snap, 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 her game is supreme. Meltdown queen, she's the star of your dream. You don't even know. Her charm's a perfect weapon, her brilliance blinding clear. Her plans are sealed in circuits and she smiles to engineer. Every corporation crowns her of the prize, while the ocean full and cities vaporize. Tick, tick, she's the queen of disguise. Tick, 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 she's untouchable, unstoppable. She'll steal your soul, leave you unlovable. Snap, 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 what's left to say? Meltdown queen.